Also with us, we have
that's nice.
really smart people like Adrian Stumpp, who writes. I'm excluding us,
Brandon. That's very nice. You went right past me.
Show me all the books you've published, Todd.
Fair enough.
Yeah, well, and we'll get into Chris has a pretty awesome background too. But Adrian is an author, local author here, and author of how many books now, Adrian?
2 published.
2 published, and so we'll kind of dive into that, which is very cool to have local authors on the show because, Todd, as we've discovered, we are not published authors. I mean,
No, but we read and we support them.
but we do read a lot. Yeah, I read a lot, actually. So, in fact, I read, you'll be happy to hear this, Adrian, we read Fourth Wing not too long ago for a podcast that we didn't end up releasing because somebody was like, no, we can't release that because people can't know that we read Fourth Wing. Chris, are you familiar with?
I'm not familiar.
Okay, it's
Snobs.
dragon sex. So if you're into dragon sex, you'll love, and not just the dragons that have. There's people that have sex too, but the dragons have sex, and it's an awfully long way to get to. Have you read it, Adrian?
No, I haven't.
You haven't read? Okay, well, all right. Well, pro tip: it's not the sex isn't at the beginning. Okay, you got to read a lot to get into. Which I was a little disappointed too, but then I thought it was just one giant metaphor for foreplay, and then that's how I think she wrote it. But
Thanks for this.
Yeah.
This is great. This is a good little intro for that. So any dragons in your books?
No.
No.
Oh, unfortunately, no. But Adrian, why don't you tell us about your book? It's actually, from what I remember, kind of a complicated setup, correct?
Oh yeah, that for the crow's head.
Yeah,
Like
the
first
crow's
one?
head. Yeah.
You want like a rebrief on
A
that?
rebrief, yes, please. Yeah, because that was a different podcast, a different show.
Oh,
So we
sure.
need, this is all new stuff here.
Yeah. So it's called The Crow's Head. It's book 1 of a series called The Chemical Marriage. It's kind of a contemporary retelling of an alchemical allegory that was published in the 1600s, the 15 or 1600s. That a lot of people consider to be like the first science fiction novel. It's an alchemical allegory.
Okay, what does that mean for like normal people?
It's a story that is symbolic of the process of like medieval alchemy.
Okay. And yours, remind me, was this like going back to the beginnings of time here? Tell me the process of the setting essentially.
So it happens in San Francisco.
That's the beginning of time.
Okay.
San Francisco started.
Happens in San Francisco in like the 20th and early 21st century.
That's right. Okay.
It never quite tells you when it is, but
Okay.
the vibe is like the 2000s.
Okay. Fair. And when was that first book published?
It's been 3 years, I think. 3 years ago.
And rousing success. How did you do on that first book?
Yeah, pretty good. I was in the black for up until about just a couple months ago.
Oh yeah. There we go. And then now you got a new book.
Yeah. It's a novella called Locust Eaters. Was actually my thesis project at in my MFA program, which I did at Oregon State University.
Mm-hmm.
It's about my like kind of one-line elevator pitch on that is that it is about Mormon Vikings. It's actually about the Mormon descendants of Scandinavian people, but I got the idea from me and a couple buddies took a road trip down to Gunnison in the late 2000s, probably around like 2008 or 2009.
That's where most people don't know this, but that's where all the Mormon Vikings ended up.
That is
where it was in Gunnison.
That is where they ended up.
Yeah.
We found this little like pioneer cemetery, and the headstones in the cemetery was all like Viking stuff, like knotwork and ships and like scenes from Norse mythology, all like together with like normal Mormon stuff, like hands praying in temples and
Yeah, that's odd.
yeah, just kind of like thrown together.
Yeah, so I said teasingly that we were going to start with politics and religion, and I guess we kind of are. But yeah, so you thought that was interesting that this was combined on these headstones, and
Yeah, that's kind of like the kernel that got it started.
Yeah.
That just got my imagination working. And then when I got married, my wife and I, for our honeymoon, we went to Scandinavia. We kind of like backpacked the Baltic. And we went to the Viking Museum in Stockholm, Sweden. And one of the pieces in there was like an early Christian baptismal font, like from like the 8 or 9 or 1000s. And it was like on the kind of like carvings on the outside of it were like Bible scenes.
Yeah.
But very kind of like Vikinged out.
This sounds awesome.
Like like Jesus had ravens on his shoulders.
Yeah. Hell yeah. That's the kind of Jesus we're excited about. Let's go. Yeah.
So those just kind of like that collision of cultures just started working on my imagination. And
So why wasn't that the first book? Because that was
because it wasn't finished yet.
Okay.
I was still kind of like wrestling with it and trying to get it right.
Mm-hmm.
The other one just got ready first.
Okay.
But yeah, I did start that one first.
Yeah.
It just took longer to kind of be done.
So did you want to dive into like the historical like accuracy of what you're seeing, or is you immediately thinking I'm going to repurpose this information? It turns into a little bit more of a fantastical story.
Yeah, so mine is basically it's another kind of retelling. Like I retold a Norse, like an Icelandic saga, but it happens in 1985 in Gunnison.
Hell yeah.
So I like that.
Gunnison's stoked. Did you do a book reading down there yet?
I haven't done one down there.
Yeah.
I have done some readings from it, but I haven't gone all the way down there to do one yet.
Yeah, you're like, hey, this book is about y'all, you know, but not because. Okay, very good. Where are you publishing? How does that whole process work?
I'm independently publishing.
Awesome.
I started my own imprint, and
Yeah.
so
Well, we had
do it
you on
myself.
literally with Case, and we've talked about the industry and that's a whole nother story. Of
Crossover.
getting-
So feel free to look that one up.
Yeah, so it's on your website too. If you go to adrianstump.com, STUMPP, two P's,
Yep.
.com, you can see, you can probably order a book there. And then at the bottom, there's the Literally podcast where we dive pretty deep on that first book
Yeah.
with Case. And Case knows what the hell he's talking about. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So
He gives the illusion that he knows what
Yeah,
he's
that's true, that's
talking about.
No, that's not fair.
We are all very familiar.
Case knows what he's talking about.
Oh, for Pete's sake.
At least Renaissance Case does.
yeah, Renaissance Case.
I didn't meet pre-Renaissance Case.
So if Case were here right now, Adrian, what would you tell him about this new book?
I think mostly what I just said in terms of kind of like kicking it off. That's what I would talk about.
Okay.
So I want to hear a little bit more about book one. And so does that mean that you have it sort of sketched out in is it a trilogy? Are you working it out? How does that work when you write something and it ends up as a book one?
Yes, it's 7 parts. I actually just
7
planned
parts.
on writing one, doing the whole thing in one book, but I was like a book's length in and I was still at the beginning.
Fair. That's tough,
So,
isn't it?
As I was going, I was kind of like, this is a book. And then I was like, well, it's going to be a thick book. And then I was like, okay, it's a trilogy. And then I was like, okay, it's a 7-parter. Because the allegory is told in 7 days.
Oh, got you.
And I was 800, well, not 800. I was about 350 pages in, and I was at the end of the first day.
Yeah, hold those books up again so we can see the books. Who does the artwork on them?
My wife did these.
Really? She does.
Yeah.
Great job. Love it. So Crow's Head, Locust, Eaters, Adrian Stump. Go to adrianstump.com. Are you selling on places like Amazon? And, how does that?
Yeah, they're available on Amazon, and you can also get them at the Happy Magpie.
Oh, yeah. Right. It's like 3 blocks away, which is fantastic.
Yep.
And you can go right next door and buy beers. It's the greatest.
Yeah,
There you
it
go.
is a great little setup.
It's the greatest little 2-door area.
So what's the story? What's the teaser on book 2? When do we get to, read the continuation of your story?
I'm at the end. It's
So we're getting close.
I think it'll be done by the end of the year.
Nice. That's fantastic.
Good. Then you can come tell us about book 2.
Yeah, sure.
And then I can see why it's going to take 7 iterations or 7 chapters, 7 books, 7 full books to get there to the end. And then do you at any point think like, oh boy, I don't know what I got myself into? Or are you pretty stoked to
No,
keep writing?
I think that all the time.
Oh, you do?
All the time. That's why I decided that, okay, I'm going to have to do like shorter things in between, just to kind of like cleanse the palate.
Yeah.
Because if you're just doing something that big and that's all you're doing, you get like sick of it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I gave myself kind of like, I do one of those and then I do something just completely different that's shorter so it doesn't take too long, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And then come back and do it kind of every other go.
Who inspires you? What do you read when do you prep read? Like, do you read before you write each morning or?
Yeah. So right then, kind of to get into the space, I usually read poetry.
Case does the same thing, and he can't write poetry. Can you write poetry?
I can't. I can. Yeah, I can write poetry.
That was a soft yes.
Yeah, it's a soft yes.
Okay.
I haven't really worked on it that much. I mean, anybody can write a poem.
Sure.
No insult to actual poets, but anybody can write a poem. But can I write a good poem?
Yeah,
I mean,
Brandon's written some shitty poems.
In fact,
I've read a couple of your
in
poems.
fact, they are about shit. I have a
That'll
whole
be your
collection
book.
of
Yeah.
poo poetry that I write while on the throne. It'll be coming out soon. So, yeah,
Different show.
different show. But that's not the kind of poetry. We're talking about real poetry here.
Okay, so having self-published 2 at this point, what's your advice for young authors or authors that
Great question.
are excited to get their words in front of eyes? This is Brandon's question, by the way. If he wants to say get poo poetry out there,
yeah.
what do you suggest?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's a ton in there. That's a little question that has like multiple
First
answers,
baby step.
multiple
Yeah.
big answers.
Yeah. Step 1 would be write the book.
Yeah, finish things.
Yeah.
Finish things. Like feel what it's like to actually get to the end.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times, aspiring writers, they get really good at starting things,
Mm-hmm.
and you can actually see that. Like as you read something that they wrote, the beginning will be pretty good, and it'll kind of fall apart as it goes. And it's because we get really used to starting things, but we don't give ourselves a lot of experience of kind of the middle and the end of a project, you know, because they kind of flame out in the middle, especially when you're new and kind of figuring out how to do things. So yeah, the big advice would be finish things. Like feel what it's like to do a middle, feel what it's like to get to an end, you know, even if you don't like it, even if you think it's bad. Finish.
How do you grind through those moments when it's like, yeah, I don't really feel like writing today?
Yeah, different tricks. Sometimes I'll listen to music. Sometimes I'll take a walk. Sometimes I'll even just kind of give myself permission not to do it for a couple days. Like I'm going to give myself 3 days and then it's time to buckle down. you know?
Yeah.
Like any hard job that, you know, you've got to do and you don't really feel like doing.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Do it.
Do it. Is that your advice?
That's my way.
Okay. Again, adrianstump.com. You can find the books there. And the upcoming one will be in what, like January, February, you think, maybe?
Yeah, around about there. November, sometime between November and early March.
There you go. Because you're on your own timeline. You don't have to hit that.
Yeah, I don't have, I mean, sometimes that works to my detriment, but yeah,
Totally.
I'm not on anybody else's timeline.
Totally.
Can I ask you a question here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't think the old Mormon Viking thing, I thought you just fabricated that, but then you told your story about going to Gunnison, Colorado. So if we get book 1, will it explain that whole background? You said that was the beginning.
Oh, that one just stands alone. No, yeah, that's the other one. That one's just a story
okay. Gotcha.
all by itself.
Wrong book. Gotcha.
Yeah. Book 2 is that story.
Okay.
Well, not book 2. The new book
Right.
is
The novella.
that
Did you
story,
call it a
yeah.
novella?
Yeah.
novella.
The novella.
It's a short novel. It's technically long enough to be a novel, but just barely. So
What is the rules?
the kind of rule of thumb, I think, is at 40,000 words. At 40,000 words, you can start calling it a very short novel if you want to.
Can you put in 6 chapters and say, Chat GPT, finish my novel for me?
You probably
good
can,
question.
but
Yeah.
I don't do that. But you probably could.
I wonder what that would look like, you know, because you're like, damn, that sounds like, I wonder if it could stay on voice. I wonder if it could stay, you know what I mean? If it could do character development and stick with the scene. And I wonder if it's there yet, or if it's like, because that would be wild.
You know what's
Yeah.
crazy is to know that this podcast that you're listening to has been AI for the last 2 months.
We only
2
did
months.
the introduction.
This content right
Yeah.
now you're listening to is
All
straight
AI.
AI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all the cuts, everything.
It's getting better.
Oh,
Like it's getting better. It's still flawed, clearly,
the
but
liquor is real though. It's
Is there any other kind?
Yeah, we all just wrote synopses of what we wanted to say, and then
that's it.
do you
the
as,
AI.
We pitched in a little bit. Yeah.
you as an author, does AI concern you at all, or is it just a
yeah, it scares the hell out of me.
does it? Okay.
Yeah.
Does it excite you in any way, or is it just the opposite?
There are some things that I think would be, I mean, I haven't used it at all, so I'm not talking from like experience, but just when I think about it, things like writing blur, like the kind of like ads or the blurbs.
Yeah, that's helpful
Kind
for
of
that
stuff
stuff.
that goes on the back, you know, synopsis, like a synopsis. The stuff that kind of writers have to do, but they're not what you actually want to be doing.
Right.
Right.
I think
When you
would be
need 100
useful for
words
that.
and you need 230 words, like exactly from content you've already written. I don't know. I think that could be beneficial.
Yeah, yeah. In that sense, I think it is kind of a useful tool. From what I understand, the novels that have actually been written with AI are like total crap so far.
Yeah. Well, of course they are.
I don't know that they'll
Because you know
stay
what
that
AI
way,
can't
but-
do? AI can't yet. They can't be alcoholics and they can't be smokers. And that's what all good authors do, right?
You're preaching to the choir.
Drink a lot, smoke. No, I don't know about that, but I've heard Hemingway may have.
Exactly. Hemingway's
Yeah.
rules. Yeah.
Right.
And
yeah.
Faulkner's too, I think.
Faulkner's too, yeah. So, and do you have a little? Well, do you write in the morning, or in the evening?
Currently, I write right now. I would be writing.
Okay, so you could have drinks. I'm just saying you don't want to wake up at 6, start writing, and take a shot of vodka.
Listen,
yeah.
if they did it back then, you could do it now. Yeah.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
You think they had restrictions back
Chris
then?
is like, I've got breakfast liquor for that.
I got
so
it covered,
we could
yeah.
do that. Yeah, we got it covered. So
All right, so I got one last question for you. Are you involved in any reading groups, writing groups, any other writers that sort of hold you accountable or are there as mentors? Are you a solo operation?
I have a really good friend that we were young together. We went through undergraduate together, and we had a writers group that was actually really successful at Weber State back then, and we've stayed in touch ever since. And we're kind of like accountability buddies. Like we check in with each other and see like, are you on task, or what are you doing, or are you taking a break, or because life happens too. And like I have a kid and he has kids, and so there's plenty of things that will kind of stop you if you let them, you know? So yeah, we're accountability buddies together and first readers. Like I read what he writes and he reads what I write. And,
I like that. And I fully support that. I think that that's very important. I think it's important across the board. We certainly are accountable for each other.
I don't know though, Todd, because I don't send the podcasts out before,
No,
just
but I
send
just
them
mean
out.
being there for each other.
That's true. You've been speaking about being there. This kid's been there, even on cruises, even in Morocco, like all over the world. You've
Oh, yeah,
called
once
into
a week.
podcast. Yeah.
on location.
On location. Yeah, which has been years. So
I think that's
yeah, you need one of those on your side. You need a good accountability buddy. I think that's important. Chris, do you have one of those?
Yeah, my wife Ashley for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for her, right?
Yeah.
She holds me to the
That's
schedule.
right. That's right. The calendar, of
Yeah.
course.
The schedule she makes, I keep.
Adrian, thanks so much, man. Appreciate you being here today. Again, the books are adrianstump.com and on Amazon, I guess, and just search for the books. And good luck on the next one.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, finish that one up.
I'm on it.
yeah, of course you
You're not the first person to bug me about where
encourage you,
Yeah.
support you.
That's right.